Katie, it's so nice to see you again. I feel like the last time I saw you was maybe the Ring of Polycrates. We also played the Korngold Violin Concerto, and that was a crazy roller coaster, but it was also just so nice to be on stage, you know?
Yes, it's different being on stage, and then for the second half went down below, and so you have to like readjust everything that you've been used to hearing for the first hour of the concert. So.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what makes like double bills so exciting, but also like the versatility of getting to be both a symphony orchestra and an opera orchestra. Because for me, when I went from symphony to opera, it was such a stark difference. And honestly, I was terrible at opera for a while because it was just a tough transition. I mean, what was that like for you?
Also very different. It's a world apart, and I feel like people that haven't played much opera, um, orchestra members, it's just they don't know what to expect, and there's so many different factors going on. Whereas on stage with the symphony, you just have your other, your colleagues and the other musicians and the conductor. But when you're down in the pit, you've got all of that. Plus, you've got to be listening for the singers and waiting for cues, and not everything happens at the same time as it did the time before. And so, yeah, it was very different. There was a big learning curve.
There is a lot of spontaneity in opera, which is what makes it so exciting, but also
Nerve-wracking.
you have to be very flexible, very agile. And also, I feel like both of us play instruments that are very sensitive. I mean, yours especially, like you have all of this going on.
Everyone knows when a horn player misses a note. You can't hide it.
So, anywho's, we first met at the Pacific Music Festival in 2010. But then I really got to know you, yeah, in the pit, because what's nice about horn and harp is that we're always neighbors. So you're basically right there. We always get to warm up together.
You get to hear the worst parts of us because you're just next to our bells.
What would you say were some of the highlights of your first operas playing with the Dallas Opera?
My first opera was actually Everest. So that was not your typical opera. It was a very different experience. And it was a world premiere, and I had only played actually a couple of operas before doing Everest. And so Everest, it almost felt like it wasn't an opera because the part was so different because it's modern. It's a modern day opera.
But... And are modern operas more challenging generally for horn players, or just in general?
I would say in general, but I will say that there's no transposition, which is always great.
Oh,
on a Mozart opera, you'll switch keys 13 or 14 different times, but
that's something incredible too that most people don't know, is that the notes you are reading are not the notes you are playing. You're actually transposing and leaping in your head as you read, which is like
feels like translating a language, like reading in English and translating to Spanish. That's what it feels like.
That's something I think is so unique about Dallas Opera, is that we get to do so many new operas. At least when I was there, I think we premiered like 4 new operas in like 3 years.
I know it wasn't the first time the opera did it, but I also really liked doing Moby Dick. Like, I just thought that was one of the most fun things I've ever played. So, and I loved the sets and everything. And my biggest regret is I can never see what's happening on stage. So I'm like, I just wish I could just watch it once, but then obviously my part would be missing. So
well, that's why you go to the piano dress rehearsal. The horn especially, I feel like, is often so heroic. Would you say that's often sort of the role you play, or even like heartbroken, soulful melody?
Yeah, I would say more usually the hero, sometimes military, not as much as trumpets and trombones. Um, Heartbroken and soulful, yes, but I would say that more goes towards the cello most of the time.
So, another thing that's so amazing about you, Katie, is, well, your journey to the Dallas Opera was halted.
Actually, won third horn in 2014 in the spring. And
Oh,
then,
okay.
yeah, my first opera was Everest, and we started rehearsing in January 2015. So I missed the fall season because I actually found out in July of 2014 that I had thyroid cancer. And so I needed to have surgery to remove my thyroid that month. And then, or no, in August. And then in September, I had radiation. And so I was like literally radioactive and couldn't be around people, and wasn't supposed to play through my horn and everything for a while. And I didn't know how long recovery would take. So I just decided to take off the fall season and start in January.
It's weird the way life works out, but you've been through so much. In 2011, you experienced a really, really nearly fatal car accident. Can you tell us, a little bit about what that journey was like, and coming back again to the rest of your life as normal, including playing in orchestra?
Well, I mean, it was definitely scary. Less than 5 months after we got married, we were driving from Austin to Dallas and got hit head on I-35 by a wrong way driver who had Alzheimer's. And so not only did he hit us head on, but we spun and got T-boned by another driver behind us. And I thought I would never play the horn again. Like,
Mm.
I'll never forget sitting in my hospital bed thinking, oh my gosh, I have student loans and they're all for like music degree and I might never play again. I injured so many things. I'll probably forget, but I broke my ankle, dislocated my knee, broke my pelvis on both sides and my sacrum, and I needed surgery for that. Broke my left forearm, my right shoulder was broken, or the arm was broken and dislocated out of the shoulder, and then broke my skull and also 4 vertebrae in my spine. And then my face nothing was broken on my face, but I did lose a tooth, and you need both of your front teeth to play the horn. And so that was like, oh my gosh.
You look so adorable in those pictures. Your sweet smile and the tooth, and you're just
Oh, it's
like,
awful.
so
I was
soft.
without a tooth for like 2 months because my left side of my face is actually still not quite the same. I don't like my smile doesn't go back all the way on that side, but
You
I
know,
was able to play again, but it was 7 months, and I was afraid that with that facial damage that I wouldn't play again. And I had to be patient.
so to wrap up, you have a beautiful little boy.
Garrett, he is going to be 2 in September, and he's doing great. He loves music more than anything. Can't help but dance anytime any kind of music comes on. It's pretty cute. So,
What's his favorite thing to listen to?
other than Baby Shark,
And you are now very pregnant with your second child.
I
Congratulations.
am 36 weeks pregnant with another boy. We'll have 2 in the house. A little nervous for that, but it'll be
Oh my
great.
gosh. And you have 2 very adorable pups.
Thank you.
And I did have the great pleasure of meeting them at one of your orchestra parties.
Their names are Luke and Leia.
You were so kind to me too. When I was new at Dallas Opera in my first year there, I got Annie, my pup, from Operation Kindness, and I was telling you about her. And I guess somehow we got talking about pet costumes and pet clothes, which is not surprising. And you were like, well, I have some old sweaters for my dogs that I could give you. They don't fit anymore.
There was like a blue sweatshirt and an Argyle pink sweater.
The Argyle, oh my God, my cheeks hurt from smiling. It was just so, it was so sweet. And Annie looked so nice. I was happy to have opera hand-me-downs for my pup. I love your family, and congratulations on the next chapter happening very soon. We can't wait to see pictures. This is one of the best parts about, being in a pit orchestra, is that you get to see people like at all hours of the night, and when they're stressed, when they're relieved, when they're, and it's just, it's a really special vibe, I think.
Yeah, I love being in the opera orchestra. It's great.
Yeah, I look forward to getting to hear you guys again.